You
Sure.
just gotta have to accept. All right. Hey, Robert. I've asked Robert Klein to come back on the from the broker success stories, and the reason being because 30 minutes was not enough to hear about what Robert's been doing and the cool stuff that he's been able to help with client. And today I've asked him to come back. Thanks for coming back, Robert, to give me an inside scoop to see what your business has been changed over the past few years and what your clientels are able to being able to leverage that you've been able to help them with. So give me a walkthrough of a case study or example that you guys been doing recently to help out.
So maybe before I do that, maybe I will start with the fundamental problem client that I had in mid 2022 that started me to figure out that this could even be a service. So
Okay. Sure.
so I had a client. So I had this genius idea of becoming a realtor also in 2021. So I got my license. The purpose of me getting that license was to do commercial. So I was already doing all the resident commercial lending and the residential lending. If I blended in the commercial piece, then I get paid on all of that too. And since I was, that stuff takes a ton of work, why wouldn't I want to do that? So I get my license.
Question.
I learned very quickly I had no patience to be a realtor. Like zero patience
That's good.
very quickly. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't do this. So respect to realtors that can deal with that type of back end.
Right. Yes.
But I said to myself, I'm going to do a bunch of deals. Let's do some deals to see how this thing works. So
Yeah.
I had a client call me and he said, Rob, I want to buy. I started working with him, and he goes, I want to buy a three lot. I want to buy real estate. And then, like a month later, he calls me up and he goes, I want to buy a three lot assembly. And I'm like, okay. And it was it was a two commercial units, like houses that are zone commercial that were used as commercial, and then one residential house. So it's two commercial and one residential. So I say, okay, so let's start, give me all your financials. Let's get this ball rolling. I can do this. So when you look at it though, I was then going to be the residential mortgage broker on that one rental. I was going to be the residential
Commercial and the commercial.
realtor on that rental, and then I was going to be had to do the commercial lending on those two commercials, and I was there also the realtor on that. But on top of that, he didn't have his down payment organized. It was all set up. All of his money was sitting in his principal residence, so I had to do that.
Oh,
So there
yeah.
was 7 transactions that had to get done. And if you know anything about that, had to be in very specific orders, had to be in very specific time frames. So I started going down that rabbit hole, and the first thing that came up when we started dealing with commercial, that his accountant was a fake accountant. It wasn't
Jeez.
there was
A
no
bookkeeper.
it was a bookkeeper that learned how to do corporate taxes, right? So then I had to fire that guy, replace him with mine, and literally had to do not the notice to reader financial, the next one, the
Review engagement. Review
engagement report,
engagement.
which was like an
Yes. Yeah.
audit and stuff. So all of this had to get
Yeah.
done. The lending side was sort of significant on the commercial
Yeah.
side. But the problem I have is the residential as a realtor only has like a 3 week period before they're not going to allow you to last it for 2 or 3 months, right? It's only a 3 week thing. Where the commercial is going to be for 3 months. You got that time period to deal with it. So we ended up like canceling that residential. I still went forward with all of the commercial to get approved. Eventually, it got all approved. But at the same time, too, I think at the same time getting his principal residence refinanced out, and I wasn't using none of this was done at the mortgage broker level. This is all done internally at the banks, internally at the banks. So, sorry, my wife just came here and distracted me.
It's okay. It's all good.
So it's done internally at the banks, and uh, so we end up getting that done, and then the commercial gets approved. So then all of a sudden I have to then lock in that property. So we tie it down again, and then we qualify for it. So the whole process took approximately 3 months to do, and if I closed 6 out of 7 of them, I get paid zero because all seven of seven had to get paid. Had to close in order for me to get paid on this.
Well,
So
that's what happened. You do an assembly.
yeah, well, and what's interesting also when he was telling me the client, he goes, Rob, I've been talking to mortgage brokers, bankers, all these people all through these years, and not everyone tells me they can do it, but no one's ever actually been able to do it. So, anyways, 3 months later, it all closes, and I say to myself, this is the most stupidest business on planet Earth. If this is how I'm going to do commercial deals. Like this is beyond stupid. Then I thought to myself, if this guy's stuff was structured correctly a year ago or in the past, then
Yeah.
he would have easily qualified for everything. I would have been shooting fish in a barrel if I had not had to do an entire restructure in order for him to get the funding. And that was the time, it's like August 2022. I thought, maybe people might want a service where I just fix all of their stuff and fix it right in the beginning so that this financing issues would be
Be a strategic financing rather than just trying to play with, hotcakes
well,
like
yeah.
what you had to do.
So then I called up basically a best friend of mine and I said, hey, you bought a ton of property over the years. You've had to sell a lot of property because your financing didn't allow you to do it. Would you want a service where I actually just fix everything up front for you? And then he goes, yes. And I'm like, that was step one. He goes, yes. And then I emailed my entire database. I said, hey, look, there's a new service. I'm going to do all of this. Here are the problems I'm going to solve. If you want it, let me know. And then all of a sudden I had
Yeah.
like maybe 25, 30 people reply back, say, yes, please
Nice.
assist me with that. And then the evolution of it has evolved though, right? So the evolution went from I'm doing modeling around mortgages. It turned out very quickly that mortgages was a secondary to it. It was almost an irrelevance. What the real problem was their fundamental corporate structure was incorrect. Like that was the core was just not being done. So it evolved to that. And then after me doing a lot of these, I started to realize that if you look in your corp structure, there's a line, right? You got your corp structure and your personal self. And in your corporate structure, very simply, it's the first 500,000 in net income you pay 11% in tax. Above that, it's like 26%, right? But if more money crosses this line, that 11% money can go up to 50% if you do it really, really, really wrong, which takes time and certain amounts of money to do that. So I ended up started doing redesigns where my objective was, well, how do I keep all my money in my corporate side and the least amount of money crossing this line every single year, while at the same time allowing you to live the way you want to live and allow you to live, and then also allowing you to qualify for everything that you would ever want. So this model, like
In
that's like
both world.
yeah, that's that model. Like I'm the number one client for that model, that which is what I was doing for 10 years anyways, right? So I personally pay myself a 40 grand dividend to my wife. So 80 grand combined. But I've qualified for 35 million worth of loans. Right. So that's a mathematical equation that you're not going to really GDS, TDS sort of gets thrown out the window with
No.
that logic, right? So
Yeah.
that's sort of the first progression. But how I attack that problem, it's done through residential financing, commercial financing, private banking. It's done through accounting. It's done through legal structures. It's done through insurance. Like I've been insurance licensed since I was 20. Insurance lending structures. It's done through estate planning lawyers. It's done through when you integrate all of these people and you make them work together as one from a singular point of view, then you can actually optimize these structures to like the finest points. But the odds of you optimizing it without understanding how to do that, it's basically impossible. And that's why you see it never done. Like right now, I will work with a client and I will fire 95% of their accountants within 45 minutes of mapping out their corporate structure. And it's not because the accountant is good or bad. It's because the accountant is not factoring in all of how all these other industries work within their corporate structure. So that's basically pretty much what I do all day long. And turns out the demand for it is pretty high because it doesn't really exist.
Yeah,
So,
because none of those key people in the team actually talk to each other. I mean, they
well,
not normally. right?
Even if you were to put like if I were to put Sua, your team into a room and we would put your corporate structure up there and we'd say, okay, fix it. What's going to happen? It's
Of course, they don't understand from our perspective, our point of view, and what's
no,
required.
but
That's the challenge.
they don't have the nuances of how all these industries interlink, and you have to be in
Yep.
there for like decades to learn how this stuff really works, and then you can integrate it. But you know what's funny? You know what's funny though? Like every single industry that I've been involved in, every single person told me, Rob, don't. Why are you focusing on all these other industries? Like, why don't you just do one and
Yeah.
specialize in that? And I thought
Yeah.
that's pretty silly because everything I personally do considers everything. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
a
I mean,
ignorant point of
it's
view that I see.
well, it is. I mean, you know, we covered the basics of it, where a lot of bookkeepers or accountants, for that matter, their job is to lower the taxes, not
It's not.
how to achieve the
Their
best,
job is
how to
not to
achieve the best
lower
financing.
their job is
Well,
not to
the
lower their
best,
taxes because they do it
I think the
very
challenge is,
bad. If they were to get paid on, oh, I lowered your taxes, they all be broke right now. Like that's not what they're doing. They're just counting the numbers. And I'll prove it. I'll prove it to you right now. If you look at your operating company, okay, what is the most important date in your operating company's timeline, right? So there's a couple dates that exist. Your year end. So let's say December 31st is your year end. So that's a pretty important date. And then the other date is you're going to meet your accountant when? 2 to 3 months after your corporate year end. When everything has been done,
yeah,
right? So the most
yeah.
important date in your corporate structure is actually 2 months before your corporate year end, which is October 31st. Because if I can look, if I my objective is to save you money in tax, I'm actually meeting you 2 months before to figure out what you've done so that we got a 2 month room to put things back together from what you've messed up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with accountant. They're not being proactive at it. What they're doing is just dealing with what has happened already at the end of that. Yeah, you're right. You're correct. Yeah, yeah.
So in my
A really good accountant, yeah, really good accountant would have to be much more proactive to do that.
well actually even I've savant level accountants and they're not doing that because that's an entirely they don't have time to do that. Like the top tier guys like
Yes.
I told him what
Yeah.
I was doing and he was like, yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Like he was like he agreed. He's like if I could
It
fix
really,
it.
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Definitely. I agree. Yeah.
So that's sort of the the realm of what I've gone into. And then and the other thing that I'm now getting into is like you got that line from the corp structure to your personal, like that's for your 30s, 40s, 50s, and basically when you're making lots of money. The next line is the when being alive and dead and how you deal with the estate side, like how do you transfer your assets. So I'm now evolving into that. And that's just sort of
Curious,
just
how do you, I'm curious how you actually handle that for your scenario, because really for your own personal scenario is not much different than most people. If they really got their acts together and they've grown the business and they've done well, and I think most people don't aren't really thinking overall plan like you have thought out. You know, what do they have in place strategically, not just to pay dividends, but it's like on the insurance side, on the corporate side, right? All of
everything,
that put into place.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, I'll give you some fundamentals. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to explain this as good, but like if you look at CRA's objective is
Yeah.
to get every dollar that you can possibly get from you. I would say that's because when the Income Tax Act started or whatever it was like, hey, we're going to tax the rich, we're going to charge 3%. 50 years later, 100 years later, we're now at 50% against everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
with property transfer tax in British Columbia, right? It was set up in 1989, I think, for taxing the rich. Now it taxes everybody, right? So
Everybody. Yeah.
their
No matter.
objective is to get everything on planet Earth from you. I mean, that's how I look at it. So what's interesting though is before CRA, if you look at the life insurance world, there's one fundamental thing. Their objective is, and their thing is everything is tax free, right? Like all the death benefits tax free. It's the exact opposite of what CRA would want. But what's happened is that you start looking at the corporate structures, and these corporate structures are considered like individual entities, like they are persons themselves. So the question becomes, how does the
Yeah.
insurance world play into the corporate world? And that's where an entire industry is. It's using the insurance space in the corporate world, and like the levels of sophistication in that is mind blowing, like of what's going on. And like the level of advisors, like the wealthier you are, the more strategies, the more structures that you have. Like if you're worth $100 million, I'm going to assume that the advisors that you have will be probably worth 5 to 10 million themselves, specializing in what they do, and they're all working together and they're all planning these things out like 50 years in advance. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Interesting compared to someone who makes 100 grand a year and is dealing with an advisor to sell mutual funds at $200 a month. Like the
Oh, definitely.
level
There'd be more
level of
more
discrepancy between
sophistication.
that, the level of discrepancy is
Yeah.
like you don't even know it exists uh, for that piece, but it does. So
Yeah.
I'm now
Well,
going deep diving into that.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good point, and it's a great niche to serve. And you are correct. I think most people aren't even aware. I mean, sure, the only difference that they know if they don't make millions or tens of millions, all they know is what's term insurance and whole life, maybe universal life. But outside of that, nothing complicated, right? Just
Yeah,
straightforward.
it's well, the issue with when you talk about like permanent contracts and corp structures, it's super. I can go down the rabbit hole 'cause that's literally what I do all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But I would say the issue is if you actually know how to make it work as an advisor, you're not going to teach other people how to do it.
That's too bad.
No, no, it's for real. So the stuff that I've had to learn and figure out, I didn't go to the insurance companies to tell me how to do this. I did not go to the brokerages to tell me how to do this. I did not go to the accountants. Like I've literally had to piece all of this stuff together. And what's interesting is when you start to speak the language and you can talk to someone that also speaks the language of it, who's figured it out, then you can go then you can level up. But otherwise, if you're trying to get into that space, if you haven't, it's almost like you have to crack the code of what's going on. And then when you crack that, it opens up to this I don't know, thing that probably takes you a decade to or 2 decades to master. But it's an absolutely hidden space. And so if you were to go on YouTube right now, the stuff that you would see and all this stuff is just wrong. Like it's not optimized. It's not good. But
Yeah, they won't give away trade secrets like I have. And I teach 80% of what I teach at the workshop online for free, but the remaining 20% that makes money, I don't teach that online.
yeah, I mean yeah, I mean the space is very like I see it now too. It's right. There's no like some things I'll say, some things I won't. But even then, it's also like from my perspective, that's just one of the things that I do. It's taking all of the industries and optimizing for that specific line. That's like, and actually, I even have the list of to-dos that I have. I have it on my webpage. You can go. Here's all these things that I will go through with you. But if you were an advisor looking at that, good luck implementing it. It's like you have to become.
Give me example, Robert. Give me example of how you help a recent client. That's pretty wow or amazing, right? So it
Last, I
gives
mean,
the audience something
so I
something
mean,
to bite on.
I'll give you sort of I'll show you an extreme case. There's nothing, not so much to do with the insurance side, but
Okay.
high net worth guy. They have a successful business. They make well, I already mentioned this one, but they make basically a million and a half a year. They were looking at purchasing another rental property. The problem is they already had like 5 or 6 of them in Vancouver. And
Outs.
basically their banker, as an example, he was using a normal banker, right? So the normal banker basically said, well, you have to, I mean, they only have access to this. They have to own it personally and you have to have your income to qualify for it, right? So they
Oh my
basically
goodness.
they
Okay.
told them that they had to pay out like 1.4 million in salaries to qualify for this loan.
Oh, oh,
So
good Lord.
so basically, they paid about 400 grand of taxes that they should not have had to. Now,
Yeah.
the immediate solution to that would have just been to go to a private banker and private bank automatically uses the income from the corporation as their income. And the second thing that happens is they then would also be able to buy that property in a rental property or in a holding company. Then
Holding company. Yeah.
all of that all of that money would have been kept in the corp structure. So that's
Yeah.
like
It would have to.
one.
It won't be taxable from the funds I'm using for the down payment. That'll save you 400 or 500 grand in tax money.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so that's one of them. And that's financing related, right?
Yeah.
The other one, I mean, that's a reversal of that. But I have another client that we just completed. And we did it's sort of crazy, but he had not completed his taxes in 7 years, and he had like 3 or 4 US corps and one Canadian corp. And he does very well. He was making like 3 million or 2.5 million US net a year, but hasn't done his taxes in that many years.
In Canada.
So
Wow.
what ended up happening though was they wanted to go buy like a $6 million house or $5, $6 million house. And obviously nothing, no bank is going to touch them with no financials, right? So
Yeah.
I sort of, when I was talking to him, I said, I actually told, I've noticed it from a couple other clients. I said, I think you might have financial PTSD. Like something from your childhood or something is making you not do logical stuff with how you think about this.
Not dealing with
The
your
reason
taxes.
the reason I say that is because I know someone else that had that situation and they hadn't done his taxes in 4 years. So something stops him. So he started going down the rabbit
Mm.
hole of ChatGPT and sort of like self-diagnosing himself of, is this a
Oh
thing?
God.
Something from my childhood. And it turns out it was. But anyways, so I ended
Wow.
up having to get an accounting bookkeeping team to basically go in there and take over like, I don't know, like
Clean up.
all of it. And it took about 4 or 5 months to package it all. We ended up getting a private loan just to get that transaction done at like the $4 million level. And then we're actually, as I'm speaking right now, we're just getting the notice to readers. And now we're going to be able to reposition them into private banking, and he's going to have AAA financing. His whole entire accounting team is set up. We set up massive insurance structures for the whole family. Um, so but now he basically, the sort of the trick is that his team got entirely replaced with my team. And then I'm able to orchestrate everything. And he's also buying other property across the world and blah, blah, blah. So all of this stuff has to get mapped out. And one of the things he actually wanted to do was he wanted to go get um, a trust set up so he can not pay taxes in Canada. And if you go on
Yeah.
YouTube, a ton of people that talk about that stuff, right? So he was about to spend 40,000 US to get that set up. So I was like, before you do that, why don't we have a
Yeah.
meeting with and like I went on a bunch of videos to sort of get dangerous at it because I don't know about international trusts, right? I don't know anything about
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, but I ended up going through my network, talking very quickly, and recognized that if you're still going to be a resident,
Resident. Yeah.
that's a big problem. And then you have something called mind and I forgot what it's called, mind and awareness, but it's basically is where are the decisions of this business occurring? Is it happening in Canada? If it's happening in Canada, then it's going to be taxed in Canada. But if it's somewhere else, then there's a whole thing. So
Yeah.
went down this rabbit hole, and there's probably things that he can do. We've not crossed that line. But when I talked to this guy, this person, he goes, "Yeah, we can set it all up." And I'm like, "So can you explain to me how you're going to deal with this residency thing in Canada?" Because he's from the perspective of all countries, and you can just set them up, but he's not giving
Yeah.
context back to what Canada would consider it as. So he can set it
Yeah.
up. And maybe from an
Yeah.
asset protection point of view, it's fine, but from a taxing
Yeah.
point of view, it's not fine. Now, I don't know much about this side of things, right? But just through me calling up a couple of private bankers that I know that would deal with this high net worth issues, they referred me to a lawyer or two. I went and talked to them, and I was able to weed out like this is not going to happen at the highest levels very quickly versus this guy trying to figure out and people are basically selling them siloed perspective on things. So it's like all of the industries being siloed, not figuring out how to work together. That is that's the real problem in Canada for optimizing a structure. So
Everybody is compartmentalized into their own profession and not really thinking how it's going to affect the other profession, how it's going to affect other parts of their life,
yeah.
right?
And then
Yeah, that is a big challenge.
like another client, um, architect does very well, makes like 600-700 grand a year, was always claiming 300-400 grand in salary, paying out massive taxes. And
Lots of
why
tax.
is
Yeah.
she doing that? Because she needs to qualify for the loan and she needs to have the down payment because all the money's made in the corporation. So, but when it happens, when we looked at her financials, she had 600 grand in shareholder loans due. So that
Hmm.
basically
Hmm.
means you owe a lot of money in taxes on the personal side. So I said, how
Yeah.
long has this been happening? And she's like, oh, it's been growing for 5 or 6 years. So that basically means that the county's been sort of, I don't know, hiding it, which CRA is not questioning anything as of that moment. So I said,
Yeah.
what we probably need to do is look at all your rental properties that you purchased, set up a holding company, structure a trust agreement to all those properties to your personal to your corporation. And what ends up happening now, the trust agreement basically changes the ownership back to your corp structure. And now all the equity from the value of the property minus the mortgage now gets returned. So that 600 grand shareholder loan gets returned versus it
Yeah.
being caught up with CRA and them having to pay 400 grand in taxes. So that was
Yeah.
one
That's
thing.
gonna hurt.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Why am I telling you to do this? Right?
Yeah.
Don't you think the
It's
account?
it's 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 really not our job in the first
Oh,
place.
no, no. Well, it's my job, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll take that on all day
Yeah.
long. 'Cause I don't know. When it comes to strategizing, like this is all I do, right? Like give me a
Sure,
system.
certainly, but it's like that's
Yeah.
technically not part of our profession,
No.
So,
Well, I'm literally out of the mortgage space relative to what I do right now. But
well,
from but
you're doing what I mentioned to everybody, like all the graduate mentions, like the real brokering world is trying to figure out how we fit in and all of our partners can fit in together to help this client. It's not a matter of you stay in
exactly
your lane. Yeah,
100%,
don't just stay in
100%.
your lane like this, like
So,
blindsided, right?
so what's the next thing I did for them? I did a what's it called? They have a nice office space, but it's with BDC, right? So BDC is a great place to start. It's not the place that you want to end up long run. So I got
Yep.
her refinanced with BMO for commercial, and
Nice.
now she wants to buy a multi-million dollar or $1.5 million principal residence, right? But where's the down payment coming from? And uh, so now in her scenario is a bit different. We've now concluded that it most likely makes sense just to buy it in a holding company. Don't buy it in a personal name. Just from a upfront taxing point of view. It's like
Big time, big time.
you give up your residence, your tax-free capital gain exemption. But if you don't have to
Yep.
pay 200 grand upfront in taxes to qualify for this silly loan, um,
Yep.
and also you can pay
What's
all debt down as much as you want, then that's perfect.
Yep.
And the other thing that we did for her was we set up, we're in the process of setting up a large disability, critical illness type contract structure to sort of protect the future revenues of her for the next, say, 15 years. So there's a lot of like this is a lot of using all these industries to fix everything that they have. It's like, and then
Yeah.
once this thing is fixed, like, and it takes a year to 2 years to really go through everything.
Yep.
Then it's
The client's work is not quite done after the mortgage. That's what you're saying. It's
yes,
ongoing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mortgage side is sort of the easy part. The
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the coolest thing that you've approached it. It's now a byproduct of what needs
total
to get
byproduct,
done.
total
Yeah.
byproduct, right? So
Yeah.
now I got on
So
now.
so much easier sell. I mean, I think a lot of broker will miss like don't clue this in. Like this is so much of an easier sell. It's like well, it's just like we need to get this done, get out of the way.
Yeah,
Whereas a lot of brokers have to fight for that.
if you're a broker and you understand a bit about corporate structuring, you'll find out that all your clients' corporate structures are crap. Like they're
Garbage.
not
Yeah.
optimized at all, right? Like I'm actually like expanding to grow what we're doing. Like starting to like I'm doing it. I got an underwriter, but now we're hiring a marketing person. But now if I wanted to replicate myself and build a team to do this,
Yeah.
guess who are the people that I would only hire to do this? Who
mean,
would I hire? Would I hire an accountant? Nope. That's not the hard part. I would not hire
yeah.
financial advisors. I would not hire mortgage brokers. I would not hire private bankers. There's only one group of people that have understood the problems of corporate structures at a level where they're super in depth with it. They've never sat there and tried to solve it. They've always band-aid fixed it. But the people
Mhm.
that could replicate what I do, I already have a 10-year experience as a foundation, is commercial bankers. They're the only
We
ones.
see it.
Yeah, they're the only ones
Yeah,
that
it's funny you meant. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, yeah, but we see, but we can't tell them what to do. That's the problem, especially if you're working for the bank. We
yeah,
know what the problem is. All right.
yeah. There's lots of
That's
legal issues on that side
yeah,
from a banking perspective. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, but they see it all day long, right? They basically it's just like when I was full-time mortgages, I mean, I got good at corporate structuring because I had to band-aid fix your stuff in order to get a loan in order for me to get paid. It was pretty the correlation worked pretty good. That was sort of where I learned about all of this stuff. Um,
yeah.
I always dealt with real estate investors and uh, business owners. That was the foundation.
But that's so cool. That's so cool, right? Our new role. I mean, our evolution of the role that we took on is now giving us a livelihood, impacting people that really need our help. And also, it's like how many of you can do this? So it's more like a blue ocean. You're not competing with rates, stupid, buying down all that stuff. You're no longer a commodity, right?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
I also will say that your mortgage brokers that are make like so like the clientele that I deal with is this minimum you have to make a quarter million your net in your corp, but my value really goes up at 500K plus. If you're a
Yeah,
mortgage broker, one, you better be incorporated, but your corporate structure, like you should be really thinking about this, will basically make you rich by not paying personal taxes and giving it to your accountant and letting them deal with it is 100% not the solution. Like it's the exact
I
opposite. You
agree.
want to do
I
that.
agree. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you probably want to watch my videos and just let let me take care of
No, I,
it.
I agree. I agree. It's like a lot of time when accountants tells me, "So why are you doing this?" I said, just ignore what I'm doing. Just do it as I requested because I'll pay the tax. I don't care. Just there is a reason, a rhyme why we're doing this.
I'll give you a
Right?
I'll give you a funny scenario. So a lot of stuff I do is in the insurance space now, but
Yeah.
like I get to get invited to all these places where all like the high net worth, ultra high net worth advisors are, and they deal with let's call it rich people problems, right? Like that's what they deal with. And one of their biggest complaints was how to deal with accountants, how to deal with their accountant and how to explain this because accountants don't understand the insurance industry and they're going to give their opinion and that opinion has weight, but they've literally read half a page of a book about insurance and now they're the freaking expert at it and their opinion means anything on it. So
Yeah.
so I'm in those meetings. I'm like, oh, I don't have that problem at all. They're like, why is that? Because I'm like, I'd fire everyone's accountant, and they're like, how do you like what? Like, yeah, I don't. They're all fired.
I got I got big balls.
No, but that's because but that's because the insurance people are all limited to insurance, right?
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
limited. They should get figure out the corp. They'll figure that out, but they don't realize that if
Yeah.
they sat there and modeled everything that they have, those accountants will be fired anyways. So
Yeah, I think they understand the problem, but they're not quite confident in how to fix that. And then to the point where say, I think you need a new accountant.
yeah, where like my first line is like, yeah, your accountant's being replaced right now, and it's
Yeah.
And then
Oh yeah.
when you go through everything, right? I shouldn't be able to figure out all these problems. Like I go through a structure and I fix it in front of you, and I'm not an accountant. That's sort of a red
Yeah.
flag, right?
Well,
So
I think because the accounting, most honestly, most accountants are analytical. They're not proactive. They're not creative type. They don't see, use that part of the brain. It's just like, how do I figure, reduce your taxes and
yeah,
reduce the capital gain?
they're
That's
order takers.
yeah, yeah.
But the accountants I deal with are very strategical. And I actually just met another accountant out in Alberta, and he actually was very impressive.
Cool.
He, he has a legal background, insurance background. Like he has background in freaking
Wow.
everything. And
Wow.
But he didn't have a
Yeah.
background in financing. He didn't have any of that, right?
Yeah.
So, and he didn't know how to, mess with that. But you could see the ability to integrate the industries together, right? Even like on this level, right? Going from a residential mortgage broker to a commercial mortgage broker to learning what private banking is a massive leap. And then you are going to
Yeah.
give and also you're going to teach corporate stuff, right? Corporate structuring, because you sort of have to get good at that if you're going to do it down the commercial route. So expanding
Right.
from residential lane of residential contracts, which are really like when I say contract, like the contracts that you have, like using all the like the normal contracts that you get paid for. They're fine for if you're normally employed, but from a optimizing,
Simple salary worker,
but
yeah.
for incorporated business owners where you want to optimize their structure or help them and play that game, everything else, like the whole banking system is designed to deal with that. So you're actually very, very, very limited in that space. So which gives you an opportunity with SUA. Like SUA, your course was the best. I mean, I paid cheaper than what you're paying now, but it was the best money ever spent ever, like of all time. But you
Right
have to have
on, right
clients,
on.
you have to have clients that have to say the same too for you, right? They have to say the same.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do. I do. Some clients says, man, you're charging very little for what you're actually giving. But that's okay. We that's basically my what do you call that? My foot in the door. The rest is just gravy, right?
So then, I mean, have you been able to go like why aren't you dealing with like real estate investors that deal with high end stuff? Like you don't want to do
I
that?
started dealing with a lot of builders and developers, and that's what my strength has been. And I've been helping less and less people rather than having, when I was working at Mortgage Lab and DOC and all those,
Yeah.
I had 106, I had 160 client list, right? Active list. Now I'm down to 48. So, and not every client will buy something every month,
Are
but
you are
you
you
know what?
still
Over
doing
a year,
mortgages? You're not doing mortgages, are you?
only commercial, no more residential.
Oh,
I
you still
stopped
do
a year.
commercial.
Yeah, only commercial. And only for development, usually for development games, like 2, 3 year game plan. And this is
Yeah.
like long term. And it's like I have no rush. I just take my time, three
Yeah.
months, visit 1 month, call up. It's not the same anymore. It's more like, hey, I'm gonna get paid six figure no matter what, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And no hurry, no stress.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I have not done a normal residential loan through like the main brokerages. I think maybe I did one in 3 years. And then there was like some stress. And I was like, oh, I don't like this.
I don't like this. That's funny. But look at you today, right? Look at you today. Six-figure earner and no stress, living an island life. I
More,
call it
more than that,
a
my
idyllic,
friend.
idyllic life. It's an idyllic life. Yeah, I know you're making way, way, way more than most people who make 100. Like, I know people who have 150, 160, 200 clients and probably don't make as much as you. And that's ridiculous amount of stress they got to put themselves through,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
That's incredible.
glad to be well, you also understand different industries pay different amounts of funds and different problems are being solved. But definitely like the next step, I would say for if you're a technical, you want to know the space, or even if you're a marketing type guy, you're not good at numbers, but you can talk enough to get that person to get that deal, and then you just go find the most genius commercial guy and you split it. Like 100% I'd be doing that all day long. I'd be actually doing that against all industries that exist, right? Insurance structuring, real estate, commercial realtors, everything get cuts on it. Because what ends up happening is like you just refer it, and if you look at your revenue per hour on it, the revenue per hour
Yes.
is crazy versus doing
Yeah.
your normal thing, right? But also you have way more
Yeah.
control with the client. So I see if you start modeling out those numbers, especially like if you deal with incorporated business owners, like the insurance side, working with on that side gets pretty damn good. Um, but yeah, there's lots of revenues out there, and revenue per hour is a pretty important calculation, and especially in the last couple of years of everyone getting destroyed in the mortgage space, or most people, including myself, and I just got myself out of it. But figuring out how to max out revenue from all different angles, and then calculating your revenue per hour is really it's really nice, like to do that. And also you have way more control over the client and more relationships because they're using your network for doing
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I think you've already evolved the next level, Rob, and I think a lot of brokers will listen to this, and hopefully that they can pick a couple of things from here. But the key thing is that if you and that's the same thinking that I had to mindset that if you're not a super smart person, you don't know everything. But like Jack Ma says, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to hire smart people to help you with stuff that you don't know,
You just need to be
right?
dangerous at commercial to
Yeah.
talk it and say, I'm going to bring my partner in and they're going to take it over. And you're going to make more money off that doing nothing than you doing their residential mortgage.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I can agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean,
That's
that's awesome. We can talk forever, I think, Rob. I think in the
yeah,
future
yeah.
we're gonna get together again and talk about other scenarios and maybe even some cool stuff you have working on. And same with me. I got developments in Bali, I got developments in Vietnam. Whoever thought, right? I mean, that's where don't limit to what we do and stay in our lanes. To forget the lane.
Oh no,
Life is
100%.
so much more. So life is so much more, right?
100%, 100%. And then your course will open that. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's what you do is
Open,
hidden.
open the
It's
Pandora's box.
yeah, 100% it opens up the Pandora's box. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, even on the residential mortgage side, like what you will teach about that is never taught in anything that's involved in the traditional systems. So that's just the
I think
way
the
it is.
most, I think the most organization that supports mortgage broker, they don't want to.
No.
What's the saying? That English saying they don't want to shake the boat. They just want a status quo. And whereas
No,
you and I, we
what they
want to
do is they
push.
say this. You realize that the average Canadian makes $73,000 a year and you can make up to 150 or 200 grand a year. Like you should be so happy to be, you should be so proud. Like I hear that from these top guys that are making millions. I'm like, oh, like that's your advice to be happy at your 150 grand a year. And I'm like, this is not cool advice. Show me how to make a
Yeah,
million. Like, what are you talking about?
that's right. That's right. That's right. Like making 150 grand today, you can't qualify for a house in Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not well thought. I mean, I guess if you're going to herd the masses, you can use that messaging, which is what it's really
Yeah,
for. But
I think
if you
so too.
want to break free, take Sue's course. I
Yeah.
did in
Yeah.
2016, thank God.
Hell, yeah, or at least connect with Robert Klein, right? Join the team or whatever. He's moving up. I'm sure he's going to scale in the future. So I appreciate your time, Rob, and I don't want to take too much time away from you and your family. We can share more stories down the road, my
Yeah,
friend. I appreciate you. So we
anytime.
can yeah, continue on. I'll stop recording.
All right.
Stop recording. All right.